Hustling will not make you rich. If working harder equated to any form of financial success, then Uber drivers would be millionaires. But we all know that that is not the case. But unfortunately, whenever you open up YouTube or Instagram, you're bombarded with gurus telling you to work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, with blacked out curtains, noise cancelling headphones, and blue light blockers probably. And it's a trap that I fell for. And what that meant was I suffered for almost an entire year. I went 6 to 8 months of not being able to make any money online and just suffering, as I mentioned, because I followed this advice of hustle culture, which is a trap in my opinion. And if we look at what my day to day looked like in 2023, you can see April to May 2023, this was my calendar. This was what my day looked like. I would wake up, I would walk outside, deep work block 10 a.m., client work 11 a.m., 12 p.m. replying to DMs, 1 p.m. quick lunch, discovery calls, client work 2, gym workout. You get the point. It was tragic, and I didn't know any better. I was just following the advice of these guys, and I do agree with some of the things they say, but as I'm getting older, I personally think there's a better, newer way of going about it. And if we look at what my life looks like now, it's quite literally a Pinterest board, right? I have complete freedom. I can go where I want, when I want, however I want. Early this year, I ran the Rome Marathon, an amazing experience, great times, something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Right now, I'm in Barcelona, just experiencing a new city, new culture, new food. I was in Dubai earlier the year. I spent quite a bit of the year there. Norway, one of my favorite countries in the entire world, up there with Iceland, Japan. I also went to Japan this year, but that was with family. But you get the point. It's not all about money. It's about freedom, which in my opinion is a precursor to experiencing, and it's definitely not about materialistic desires. And if you want a life like this, and you want to be able to do what you want, have impact, help others, but experience new things, new countries, cultures, people, activities, then I'm going to explain how in the next 7 minutes. So you just need to keep watching. This video can change your life. Because this is like the new, better way to go about it than spend all day working. And I'll explain how you can achieve this by doing less, right? Very important. But the reason I want to explain why it's so important to, experience life is because there's a part of the brain called the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus basically processes memory and novelty. Novelty meaning new things. And it's more active, right? This part of the brain is more active when we experience new things. So when your brain isn't stimulated by novelty, it runs on autopilot. So if you had a 9 to 5, if you follow this routine and you sit in a dark room at your desk all day, this part of the brain isn't really activated. And if you remember when you were a kid, maybe those summer days felt really long and amazing and euphoric. And it's essentially because you're experiencing new things as a kid, right? You had your first day of school, very memorable, or your first bike ride, or your first holiday, or whatever it may be. And we also have this idea of proportional perception. A year to a 10-year-old is 10% of their life, but for a 30-year-old, it's only 3.3%. So I urge you to experience a new city you've never been to, right? Because it would increase novelty. Trying a new food, learning a new skill, switching up your routine, right? All equal novelty. And novelty is a precursor to dopamine, right? Novelty activates your dopaminergic system, and that is your brain's reward pathway. So it basically makes it more engaging and memorable, and that's why experiences feel longer. And as I said, the reason this is so important is because you can essentially live a longer, richer life by avoiding the trap of hustle culture. Now, you may be wondering, Charlie, that is great. And you basically told me how you can live a longer, more fulfilled, richer life by experiencing new things, novelty, and just freedom. But you probably have this question, Charlie, how the hell am I meant to achieve this when I have no money? And that's what I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain how you can get to a point where you can do this to make a better life for yourself very, very easily in the next few minutes. So keep watching. So if we look at predators at the top of the food chain, like lions, tigers, big cats, they often sleep around 16 to 20 hours per day. Whereas prey animals like deer, zebra, flies, they are constantly moving. Think about a fly buzzing around all the time. It's annoying as hell. But they're hypervigilant, reactive because they have to survive. So what we need to do is have a growth lever. Essentially, if we look at lions, tigers, cheetahs, they don't hunt all day. They pick a very specific time and they go out and do what they want. If you think about a hawk, right? It flies around and it doesn't just try and get a bunch of things. It just does one thing. When it sees an opportunity, it makes its move. So what we need is a growth lever. A growth lever is a specific action or channel when pulled, will create disproportional results, similar to asymmetric results. Meaning like I can create this video and it could reach 5,000, 10,000 people, and that could make me a ton of money for an hour or two of work, right? That's an example of a lever. So you can find your lever by using this hypothesis loop. So the first thing you need to do is experiment. You need to be a scientist. You need to put your scientist hat on and try a bunch of different shit. If you know your ICP, your ideal client profile, someone you'd like to help in the world, you could be selling consulting, you could be doing services, you could be selling automations. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same kind of thing in terms of this framework. You want to experiment. You want to try multiple things with low cost and high feedback. So for example, you can start messaging people, you can start posting into Facebook groups, you can start posting content. And when you experiment for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you'll be able to observe. And once you observe, you can essentially be like the hawk. You can be looking at, the earth beneath you, and you can pick certain things. So what's working, even slightly? Maybe you've posted on Instagram and it got more views. Great. Maybe you've done a DM strategy that got more replies than usual. You just need to test shit. Put on your scientist hat. When you test shit, you can then build a hypothesis. So what lever could I double down on, right? So if this post hit 5k views with barely any effort, great, you found maybe a short form content format that is working amazingly for you, and you can just go crazy on doubling down with it and removing everything else, that you're trying in terms of strategies. Or if you got one meeting per 100 emails or 200 emails, great, now send 1,000. So it's about experimenting. Put down your phone, don't go on TikTok, don't go on YouTube, don't watch any more self-help videos. It's about just ruthless, empirical action, which is the opposite of conceptual, which is just learning from concepts. You want to actually take, empirical, you want to take action which leads to empirical knowledge, which is knowledge through doing. So that's very important. And then just test, run a 7-day sprint, pick one lever, something that's worked for you, and just go all in on it for 7 days, measure the ROI, other metrics as well. And then if it's working, great, just cut the rest. You want to do one thing. If you look at any business that's done very well, they usually just had one thing they did for an extended period of time that was asymmetric. Think about Gym Launch, right? They got to like 4 million per month with just Facebook ads, I believe. The list goes on and on. Now, for every business, there's a different growth lever, and that's why I can't tell you to do one thing, because you may be doing something that is slightly different to what I'm doing. So this is the overall loop or framework you should follow, but I'm not just going to tell you to do one thing. And if anyone tells you to do one thing specifically, then they're most likely just lying or not giving you the best advice. So yeah, it's up to you to run this experiment and give it a really good shot. And as I mentioned before, like a hawk who is higher up on the food chain than a fly doesn't just waste all its energy moving around. It knows what it wants and it gets it at a certain time. So for you, I really need you to not spend all day watching YouTube videos, not spend all day reading books or doing anything like that, but just do the one thing that matters. So run an experiment, try a bunch of shit, and then have a deep work block once a day. You can literally work 2 to 4 hours per day doing that one thing and make a ton of money. So that is what I recommend if I had to start again and I was in this position with no clients, no confidence, nothing like that. I wouldn't have a routine like this. I would literally just try a bunch of different shit for 3 hours a day around getting clients, ideally, because what else are you going to do? You don't have clients, so there's no service delivery. So just try and get clients for 3 hours, try a bunch of different shit. Yeah, as I said, it could be Facebook groups, it could be posting content, it could be, referrals, it could be going in person. And once you find something that works, that is all you need to do. More and better of it, not do new things. So as I said, I like Hormozy. He, great guy. Same with Gary Vee. I just don't agree that you should work 12 hours a day. I think there's more to life than that. I think you should experience new things. I think you should try new places, new cities, new food, new skills, and some amazing quotes by some really smart people. I think this guy's Henry, I can't remember his last name, but he said, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, and not when I came to die, discovered that I had not lived," right? Really important. You don't want to get to the end of your life and all you've done is just work right? No one else, that's not important. You want to experience things. You want to increase your, life by, these three things: novelty bias, temporal expansion, time perception, stretching. So very important. Naval Ravikant said, play long-term games with long-term people. So sure, you can have a business and you can, create like long-term goals, but don't forget, if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. That is like kind of what I'm saying summed up. You should set deep work blocks for like a few hours per day, and then enjoy the rest of your life, because you should only focus on things that matter, not what doesn't. It's not about adding more things to your plate. It's about taking away the things that don't work. Very, very important. Like, people who are way further ahead than you, they don't do more things. They do less things, but to a higher quality. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do, guys. So yeah, Seneca, amazing philosopher, said, "You are scared of dying, and tell me, is the kind of life you lead really any different than being dead?" So I think I'm going to leave it as that. Focus on the right things, experiment, double down, find your growth lever, work a few hours per day, and then enjoy life and help people and make the world a better place. Be nice to people. So yeah, take it easy, guys. Hopefully you found this video valuable. Drop a subscribe. I don't even like doing long outros. I don't even know what I'm doing. Whatever. Yeah, I do have System Kit. If you want like Go High Level and all my snapshots and a one-on-one call with me, feel free to join. That'll be in the description somewhere. But take it easy, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.